Okay, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining today's quarterly demo. I'm Paul Phillips, the product manager for Novacura. Today we'll be taking you through everything that we've delivered in Q1 2026 across both Flow Connect and Classic. We've been through this a couple times before, but as a reminder, please use the Q&A section at the bottom of your meeting tools to ask all your questions. We'll monitor these throughout the session, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end. Before we get started, I want to introduce the team joining me today. Ola and Andreas are both product managers. Łukasz, our director of business solutions, and Varuna, our UX researcher. These are the demoers for today's features that you'll see today, and they'll be helping us answer some of the Q&A. And here's what we have lined up for you. We'll start with a brief introduction. We'll jump into some of the latest features of Flow Connect, and that's where a bulk of our content is today. After that, we'll cover Flow Classic updates, take a look at our product roadmap, and then touch on business applications where we'll showcase example solutions that we've created to expand the platform capabilities. When all that's done, we'll go to Q&A and answer your questions that you've put into the chat. I talk about this each time, but I want to take just a moment to share why we do these quarterlies. First, it's about transparency. We want you to have full visibility of what we're building. But more than that, I think it's a two-way conversation. We appreciate your feedback. It really does shape our priorities. So as we go through today's features, please make sure that you comment, question, and tell us a little bit more about how you may or may not be able to use that feature. And for those who have missed our user conference, our previous quarterly updates, I'd strongly recommend catching up on our recordings on YouTube. All you need to do here is scan the QR code, and this will take you to Novacura's YouTube. Today's session will really just build on what we've done over the quarter, so it's really important that you take a look at previous to gather some additional context. And with that said, I'll hand things over to Andreas, who will walk you through some of the new and exciting features in Flow Connect this quarter.
Okay, I'll start by highlighting new features and improvements for translations and phrasebooks. Let's say we have an application that we need to translate. I have a file with general application phrases, which I'll start by importing into my application. So I will open the phrasebook and select import. And in my application, I also have Swedish enabled, but my file doesn't contain any Swedish translations. Well, no problem. We now have AI-powered translations available in the phrasebook. I can request translations for all phrases in Swedish. And there we go. Everything is now translated. This works for individual cells as well, or just missing translations. It's great that we can now import phrases, but wouldn't it be even better if we could simply share phrases? Well, now we can. We are introducing Phrasebook assets. This new asset type works in the same way as components and modules. They can be shared across all applications, are versioned, and are deployed together with applications. So I will start by creating a new Phrasebook asset in my package. They can also be created in the application library, of course, and be shared across all packages. I open the new phrasebook, and next we import the application phrases from before, now including the Swedish translations. Then we commit the phrasebook just like any other asset. Switching back to the application. I open the phrasebook. And we now have a new section for shared phrasebooks, where we can enable phrasebooks for the application. We'll enable the new phrase apps as well as one shared phrasebook for our expense apps. So let's add some translations in the app. So we can either type the name with regular auto completion, or we can also browse all available phrases, both shared and local, and insert them automatically. So if we search for a phrase, you can see that we found a phrase in our other shared phrasebook, and it's automatically inserted. To summarize our improvements, import and export translations to quickly move them between applications and assets, built-in AI-powered translations, Phrasebook assets for sharing translations across applications, browse phrases from all assets for easier translation management, and Phrasebook assets for application will be available next week, and support for the portal will be delivered in mid-April. The next thing I want to highlight is the new low-code UI for components. So let's add a component to this application. And all input parameters from the component are automatically available. You can switch between variable and expression mode. So typing variables using regular autocomplete, or select available variables from a list. You can seamlessly switch between the editor and the code view. And even if a variable is accidentally removed, it remains available in the editor view. So we believe this will be very useful both for developers who prefer low code and those who prefer scripting. Thank you. And I will now hand over to Ola for a cool new client-related feature.
All right, so I'm going to show you a feature which is maybe one of those features that if you know, you know. If you've been working with offline applications, you might have missed this feature. So let me show you what it is about. It's a feature we call local storage. And when you're dealing with offline applications in Connect, we already have something called preloaded data, which is you download it to your device. And now we're also introducing this thing we call local storage, which means you can manipulate the data stored on your device, the offline data you download. Well, actually not the preloaded. It's a different thing. It's local storage, but it means you can edit the data. I'll show you what it's about. The primary purpose of this is just for offline applications, but it's not limited to it. You can use it for other applications as well, or other appliances as well, if you see that fit. So what am I mumbling about? Okay, let's take a look at it. So I have a web client here in front of me. On the right top corner, I see that I have some data to download. This is nothing new. This is a preloaded data. So I'm now going to bring down some data from my ERP maybe to my device. In this scenario, it's a web client. And if I check my to-do list here, my inbox, I see I have 3 tasks to do for the day. One is to go and fix a broken door lock in the office entrance. All right, to fix that, I need my laptop, but we don't have any Wi-Fi down there. And my laptop has a cord, so I'll unplug my laptop now. And you can clearly see I'm offline now by the icon down to the right. Back to my inbox, I'm heading down to the entrance to fix the broken door. Once down there, I open my task in offline mode. And let's start the timer here in my application. And now things are progressing. I'm doing my work. I am maybe pulling things to this work order. And at the end, when I'm done with it, I make a little comment here. I replaced the lock and pressing next. So the cool thing now is still being offline. I can see in my inbox that this work item has been marked as complete, and this is a new feature about local storage. So I haven't sent or fetched anything from any storage or any ERP or database right now. I'm still working with my local data. It doesn't end there though. While I'm in the elevator heading back up to my office, I feel a sudden urge to do time reporting, and I'm still offline, and I open a separate app here. And the cool thing is here I can access my local storage from this application as well. So the local storage is global, so to speak, between apps in my client. All right, so how does it actually work, you wonder now? To show you this, I'll bring up the Flow script playground. And I declare an object here that I call work order, containing 2 columns, ID and duration. And then we have this cool thing called local storage command. So I set my local storage to, and here comes some code, inbox example, comma, done work orders. The way we can think about this is I want to put a folder, quote unquote, in my local storage, which is called inbox example. And then I'll put a file, quote unquote, again, because it's not really a file, but we can think of it that way, called done work order. So in my inbox example folder, I put a file now for my local storage called done work orders. And then I run a command to insert a new worker order in here with the ID of 1 and the duration 4.5. That's what that line of code does. We have another local storage command called get. So in the third line here, I am just getting everything from my work order object, and also from my, local storage gets it from my inbox example done work orders local storage. So if I now press run here in my Flow script playground, it's going to go down to my device and fetch ID 1 and duration 4.5, which we entered in the second line here. For more information about this, there is a help section under reference Flow script and Flow script local storage module. You can also scan that QR code to get to that page. I think the way to understand this is to work with it a little bit if you have a need for it. The behavior of this is it's stored locally on the device or in the browser. If you are, as I am now, in a web client, it's user specific. So anyone else, if Andreas will come in here, he won't see my local data. Or if he logs into the same app, it's just user specific. And it's also session specific. So when I log off and back on, it's gone for the day. Or, it's gone, my local storage, it's deleted. Another thing I want to highlight, if you are to try this out for yourself, is in the client, under settings, there is an option to clear your local storage. It's very useful when you're sitting and playing around with it, so you can reset without having to log off and back on. All right, with that, I'll pass it back to Paul, I think. Thank you.
Okay. So those are only a couple of demos that we've shown. We have even more features that we shipped this quarter. Sadly, we won't be able to demo everything today, but if you'd like to explore these, you are welcome to go to our release notes at docs.novacura.com. I'm going to take you through a few more of these highlights that we have for the quarter. And as I do that, I just want to remind you all, please, if you have questions on what you've seen so far or things to come, please use the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, not the chat section, the Q&A section. Now, this is one that I'm really excited about, the AI Flow Builder. This is Novacura's first step towards generative AI. Here you can generate applications, wireframes in seconds using natural language, describe what you need to the AI in a workflow, and we can even include IFS cloud integrations automatically through natural language. You don't need a lot of deep scripting knowledge to get started, and it really lowers the barrier for building applications, arguably speeding up prototyping. Let's see this in action. Here's an end-to-end flow. It starts with a natural language prompt from a user. The AI asks clarifying questions like a professional consultant would to understand what your app needs to do, specific needs for your business. Once you answer those questions, it generates a workflow. Here you can work through the workflow, understand how the app runs, and you can even request changes to individual steps. Now, once you ask it to make those changes, it can update things like script steps here. You can approve that, and then you can actually ask it to communicate with IFS Cloud using OData APIs. So in this example here, it's going and changing the workflow to get user context to a script step. And then from that script step, I'm going to ask it to communicate with IFS Cloud APIs, specifically going to the purchase order approval entity projection. And what it will do is it'll write that flow script for you, embedded in the flow script step. Now, this is our first iteration of it. We will continue to build on this as we release more features for the flow script builder. But it is also one of the biggest features that comes along with our web designer. And here we're moving to a fully web-based designer. No more thick client installations required. And starting April 1st, the web designer becomes the default for all organizations in Connect. It works directly with the browser and has improved search and navigation capabilities. One important note to you all, as this gets rolled out on April 1st, is that the applications committed in the web designer cannot be reopened in the Windows designer, the thick client designer that most people are using today. So please plan your transitions accordingly. We've also improved static controls in the designer. You can now apply bold, italic, and underline formatting to header and static text. You can adjust alignment, and you can even choose from different font sizes. And these changes really make a difference on how polished your applications can look. But it's really the first step towards our larger effort to give developers more control over their applications. The next step is rethinking how layouts are done entirely, and we'll show a little bit of this in the roadmap. This feature is a performance improvement for IFS Cloud customers. Android, iOS, and Windows clients can now call external systems like IFS Cloud directly using OpenID, bypassing the intermediate layer of the agent today. And really what this does is it reduces the latency and speeds up data exchange inside of customers using the OpenID configuration. I think it's important to note, though, that this does come with some limitations. Here, this isn't support. There's no real support for web and portal clients due to CORS restrictions, but you can always bypass that by using a proxy or an API manager if needed. We also now support Okta logins in Flow Connect. If your organization uses Okta for identity management, your users can now log in directly through Okta. And agent management just got simpler. Here, we've now allowed support to update agents from the hub. No more logging into virtual machines or needing direct access to specific servers. New agent versions show up with a blue dot indicator so that you can spot them at a glance and ultimately just click one button to update those agents from the hub. This makes it a bit easier for your teams and our teams to help you upgrade these agents moving forward. The GAMP portlet was released and is now available in Portal. Here, you can track task timelines visually, manage dependencies and milestones, and share project views across teams. And this really does bring us one step closer to feature parity with Flow Classic in regards to the portal. The portal navigation also got major simplification. Going forward, the portal navigation will be managed centrally in the hub, rather than separately in each individual environment in the portal. On your next deployment of any app, page, or automation, the hub navigation automatically overwrites what is done in the environment. And this really eliminates manual sync between the dev, test, and prod environments, which has been a pain point for some of our customers. Please note that you'll be able to set up this navigation either in dev, inside of the portal itself, or within the hub environment. And then once you do that and make a publish to your or deployment to your other environments, such as test and prod, that navigation will follow suit. The ODBC connector opens up access to a wide range of databases. IBM DB series, DB2, MySQL, Postgres. This is pretty significant for two reasons. First, it enables existing customers on Infor who utilize the DB connector to communicate with Infor M3 to migrate over to Connect. And second, it really drastically expands our capabilities for communicating with databases beyond IFS. Anything you want to connect to that uses ODBC is a possibility. As an example, you can communicate with Excel files through this ODBC connector. So please take a look at this, explore the possibilities. The FTP connector is also now available in Flow Connect. You can connect to an FTP server and send files, receive them directly from your Flow applications. This has been a blocker for some of our customers moving to Classic and now is available on top of the SFTP connector, which we released last quarter. And we've made a lot of improvements here in the Flow Connector agents this quarter. For those who are on Flow Connect, you'll note that you get a lot of updates on these agents. But a few that I'd like to recognize here are things like time zone handling, which has been improved from the database connectors for IFS 10, SQL Server, and Oracle. And also, after versions 9.23 and later of the agents, you can now manage these agents directly from the hub. We've also fixed some stability issues and added option for IFS logging and troubleshooting. On top of that, we have gone ahead and updated this to a .NET 10 version. So when you go through an upgrade of your agent manager, you'll note that you may need to download .NET 10 on your virtual machine. Okay, now let's shift over to Classic. While our primary investment is in Flow Connect, we remain pretty committed to supporting customers on Classic through stable transitions to Connect. Here we have a couple of updates. I'll talk a little bit about those updates on Portal, and also I'll talk somewhat about the sunsetting timeline that we have for Flow Classic. So Portal 2 release will be available here shortly. It is going to be version 2025.3, and it's focused on stability. We've fixed an issue where charts, portals wouldn't refresh after applying filters, resolved some issues with overlapping scheduler weak views, and made several table fixes. Really, these are quality of life improvements for those who are still using Portal 2. And I think it's a good opportunity maybe to go through the sunsetting of Flow Classic one more time. We try to hit on this in each one of our quarterlies, but for those who are new to it, it's a good opportunity to re-up on some dates. Starting in Q1 of 2027, we will move into restricted support. But prior to that date, the standard support continues to the end of 2026. Same scope, same pricing, same service. Now, after restricted support ends in September 30th of 2027, we won't handle many major issues after this. Security fixes. We will handle major issues and security fixes, but no new features past the restricted support. Restricted support is also only available for on-prem customers. Classic SaaS ends in 2026. I think the good news here, though, is that Flow Connect covers almost everything Classic can do. And you can see from these demos that we have much more. So we have many clear migration paths set out for our customers. The Upgrade Hub team can manage this end to end if you want. You are also welcome to upgrade yourself from one version to another. And for those who need to stay on-prem, Flow Connect Edge is coming in Q4. Okay, let's take a look ahead. I think the following slides will show what we're prioritizing over the next quarter to 2 quarters. And this is your chance to go ahead and have your voice heard. So to the bottom right of the screen, you'll note there are QR codes. If any of these features look to be something that you're interested in or would like to add some feedback to, please scan the QR code and add your vote in user voice. Also, make sure to comment. Tell us how you may or may not use this feature. First up is our flexible layouts. This is a new application type that gives developers more control over where they place things, like buttons, for example. Instead of the sequential step-by-step approach that we have in our flows today, you'll be able to align, style, and position elements exactly where you want them. Think about designing a screen rather than building a sequence. This is just one example of what a layout could look like in the client. You can see it's a bit more modern, visual, and built for action, much like a mobile app would be. And I think this is the direction we want to take application design. More clean interfaces, work naturally on mobile applications, but also desktop apps. And for those who might want it to look a little bit more like it does today in Flow Classic, I think here's another good example of what you could have. We could do something like KPI cards, interactive data, where you can drill into details, but not leave the screen in front of you. We call these modals. If you're planning to migrate from Classic, this is what a new app could look like for you in Connect in the future. The table portlet is getting some powerful upgrades this quarter. We're trying to separate styling inside the header rows, the start app links, and even customizable text. We think we should be able to rename button layouts and labels and have conditional cell styling based on values in other cells in the same row. I think these small tweaks will make a pretty big difference to the end user. If you're looking for something specific in this table portlet that you don't see in front of you here, we would love to hear from you. So please scan the QR code. And as was said before, the Phrasebook support is coming to Portal this quarter. Here, you can share centralized translations across all of your Portal pages which just makes the manual effort of translating applications and portal pages significantly easier. We're also adding table views to the application hub. Here, it'll allow you to see high density data, live deployment tracking, and multi-layer tagging. You can filter much quicker. And really, we're designing these for organizations who manage a large number of applications. So as we get more and more customers on Connect, we recognize that they have hundreds of applications built on the tool, and it's important to be able to see more data at a glance. But we won't just stop there. We'll also build those same views in for the assets, which are becoming more and more important in Flow Connect. Here you can do multi-layer filtering, custom tagging, and you'll be able to see full version history, giving you complete visibility of the shared components and Flow script modules. SQL parameter bindings will let you securely map dynamic user inputs to structured database queries. This is something that we did support in Classic, but we are bringing into Connect and doing it more securely in the new product. If you're building apps that interact with database connectors, this will make it much safer and more powerful to work with structured queries. For our Infor M3 customers, the M3 socket connector is coming to Flow Connect. This one is one that we're bringing over from the old product line Classic and bringing it into Connect. We should have this one by the end of the quarter for migration. And OPC UA is a global standard for industrial automation and IoT. We're bringing this into Flow Connect so that our customers who currently utilize this connector can come over. If you don't use this connector, note that it does allow you to communicate with real-time signals from PLCs, SCADA systems, even shop floor devices. So for those who aren't familiar with OPC UA connector, strongly suggest giving this one a shot. It is a really powerful connector and ultimately lets you communicate with shop floor equipment. And with that, I'll hand things over to Łukasz, who will talk you through some of the items coming in business applications and marketplace.
So I would like to start first with an application that is dedicated to supporting IFS systems. And this application makes a real difference, positioning our tool on a different level comparing to other tools that you might use for expanding ERP systems, because this application will help you manage your application over their life cycle as IFS constantly upgrades their ERP system under the Evergreen philosophy. So let me show you the context here. So I hope you can see my screen. So typically when you are moving your IFS installation to a newer version, you need to drag Novacura Flow workflows along. But here is a fundamental question coming. Which of the workflows you created will be affected by potential API changes? We know for sure that new IFS releases bring changes to APIs, to OData methods. The question is, which APIs will be changed and which of these will affect your workflows? So fortunately, we have an application. We just prepared an application that answers that question. So let me live demonstrate this application in real. So I'll start from selecting application package. In this organization, I have very many application packages. So I'll choose something from the warehouse area. And I'll choose the package for IFS Cloud. And now I'll be able to choose which is my current version of IFS or my current set of application is dedicated to. And I can also choose my destination version. I have different versions here to choose from. So let's choose the latest one we have in our database. And then underneath, I see the list of applications I have in this package. I can select multiple, but to speed it up, I'll only select one of these applications. I'll maybe choose this one, which is of average size. and I'll press next. And now the application recursively scans the application source code, the workflow, and checks for all the steps where we interact with IFS, with OData endpoints. And then it will soon show you a full report of all the steps. You can see it right now on the screen. It shows all the workflows that exist in this application. This can also be a component used by the application. It was the recursive scan. And you see the entire list of steps in the application that use particular projections and particular methods. And now you can see if these elements, these particular methods are affected by the changes of IFS versions or not. So yellow rows represent those methods that were changed between the two selected versions, selected on the previous screen. I can scroll down a bit and show only the ones that are affected by changes. As you can see, it's only 4 rows. And then I can easily press the button here and export everything to the file, to the CSV. So let me open it now. So I hope you can see it now. So you can use this list together with detailed comments to verify your workflows, correct each and every of the affected steps, and prepare your application for the new upcoming IFS release. I think this is a very practical tool for all of you who maintain the whole set of applications and struggle to estimate the complexity of the upgrade to the newer IFS release. So that's IFS comparison tool. Let me come back to my slideshow. Another tool I'm going to present is the very complex tool that is created to help you migrate your workflows from IFS applications to IFS Cloud. It's obviously very complex task. If you have many applications and they usually touch very many points in IFS, I mean, every second cogwheel interacts with IFS usually, then you know that this transition to IFS Cloud might be complex and might be a tedious process. And we created a very advanced tool to ease you that process. So let me demonstrate it. So in general, this is the diagram showing this tool in action. We take all the workflows from dedicated to support IFS applications, and we convert them to the workflows ready to support to interact with IFS Cloud. This functionality is only available for Flow Connect because we use advanced Flow script techniques to make it happen. Let me demonstrate the final look of this application in a pre-recorded video. So as you can see here, there is a list of workflows and steps in these workflows where you use PL/SQL statements. And when you click on different rows here, you can see the original PL/SQL and then the converted Flow script. And this is how this tool will look like. It will read all your workflows, determine all the places where you use PL/SQL statements, where you interact with IFS applications, and will convert these steps into the OData IFS Cloud world one by one with quite high accuracy. And I can demonstrate you a couple of conversion examples, just a couple, not the most complex ones, but I would like you to better understand what this tool really do. So we take PL/SQL block on one end and we convert it to its equivalent in Flow script. But it's not only the PL/SQL to Flow script conversion, but what's most important is that we prepare it to be compatible with IFS Cloud. So we obviously use OData APIs, OData projections. We need to first determine which API function maps onto the right OData projection. And then we also embrace it with FlowScript modules. FlowScript modules are the library functions generated to embrace the complexity of OData API. They are done specifically for Flow Connect. And we use these modules to elegantly call all the OData API functions from within Flow script. So this tool not only determines the right projections and methods, but also chooses the right Flow script modules to do the IFS interaction in an elegant way. Another example, more complex SQL statement that was converted to much more advanced Flow script. And as you can see in this example, we use expand function to connect to projections because there is no projection capable of delivering the entire list of properties that are necessary in this original select. So we don't connect the data in Flow server. We do that on the IFS server side by using the expand technique to make it efficiently. And the tool is now intelligent enough to propose these techniques to take care of the performance. And last example shows you that this is not only to read the data using select, but also to obviously to consume much more complex PL/SQL code and convert it to the Flow script code that will also invoke some actions on the IFS side, modify data or call some other APIs. Okay, let me show you this tool in action. This is the demo done in our laboratory, so it's not yet connected to the end-to-end UI. This will be connected to specific application. What you can see on the screen is the PL/SQL, quite complex one with joins that we now pass over to the tool we created. And the tool will use AI and also other techniques. We incorporated Flow script parser to judge the final results. So we constantly repeat the creation process until it returns the Flow script that is without errors. There are also other tools that judge the final results and compare the business logic that was generated by the conversion tool if the business logic in Flow script covers the same logic that was designed in the PL/SQL block. And here you can see the result generated by AI on the fly. AI not only delivers the Flow script, but also usually delivers a lot of comments. So you can check if the process was correct, if the foundations were properly set. Now we are copying the generated Flow script, and we will paste it directly to the Flow script step. And now you can compare it to the original PL/SQL block. So as you can see, it's very different code. It's not like one-to-one, line-to-line conversion. It must use totally different techniques. The SQL also use joins, and in this example, we had to replace it with the expand function to glue two projections into one. And now we are running this freshly generated Flow script in the debug mode to check if this will fly, if this will return positive results. And as you can see, we just read a portion of data from IFS without any consultant interaction. It was purely generated by our tool. So that's the tool in essence. As you can see here, it's a proof that it was generated for IFS Cloud, and it in the backend it's calling the REST API, OData API. Okay, let me come back to my slides very quickly to finalize my speech about this tool. So this tool, we aim at covering 80% of the workflows that will exist in your real solutions with over 90% of the accuracy. And as I mentioned before, we take care of the accuracy very much. So we know the tool will be unuseful if we don't deliver the good results. So we have so-called false positive paradigm, no false positive paradigm actually, which means that if the tool is not confident enough to convert the cogwheel, the PL/SQL block, it will not do that. It will inform that it's something that must be done manually. But still, we believe we will be able to automatically convert more than 80% of the workflows. And we currently tested it based on the by using over 10,000 workflow steps. So we are quite we are quite confident that the tool will be very accurate and very useful in practice. And we also categorize different PL/SQL steps into different complexity levels. So we are aiming at converting the steps that belong to the first easier complexity levels. But the positive message here is that based on the statistics, this first 6 steps of complexity usually cover over 80% of all the steps existing in real life solution. This tool is still in the beta test, but we are now finalizing it, and we are inviting customers to the beta test to share their solutions with us so that we will be able to check if this tool works in practice. Last part of my speech for today is marketplace. So I'm going to jump over to the marketplace portal to quickly show you a couple of applications we created this quarter. The first application I want to show is the AI-powered example that simply does the following thing. It enables you to import any random file to the well-defined grid, to the well-defined table in the client. And the AI takes care of the right ordering of columns, data format, and other mistakes that might exist in the source Excel file, and it properly maps it onto the right data set that exists in your client application. That's one example. We also provided a bunch of tutorials showing you how to interact with map portlets in the portal. There is a lot of examples showing different capabilities of the map portlet. So we encourage you to check it and download it from the marketplace. We also show how to use the translations in Flow. We also show how to interact with file system, how to generate PDF documents, and so on, so on. So there is a bunch of practical, useful examples. And the last solution we created is the application that enabled you to collect your leads. So if you have opportunities, if you meet people during various events, you can register them using this application. And this application is pretty advanced. You can easily scan business cards, and it will retrieve all the information from the business cards directly to the database. So that's another powerful example of using AI capabilities in practice. I would like to finalize my speech today by showing you the good news. We are now introducing a free plan in the marketplace. So every customer, even without active subscription, will get access to some basic applications. And we are going to give you access to all the tutorials and also some basic examples or supportive tools. So please make sure you visit the marketplacenovacura.com page and then press the button login and press this link to get to know how to get an account in Novacura Marketplace. And with that said, I'm handing over to Paul Phillips.
Okay, that brings us to our Q&A section. So we have a bit of time to go through a couple questions. We have a few in the chat. I can read them off. We'll start with the first one and we'll work our way down, Varuna, if that sounds okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so Phrasebook components. Is this available globally, meaning across all application packages?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can manage them in this exactly the same way as components. So if you put them in your application library, they will be available across all packages and applications. And if you put them inside a package, then they are available to all applications inside that package.
Probably another one to you, Andreas, is if Flow Connect, the legacy designer. For flows created in the legacy-based designer, is it recommended to migrate them to the web designer version? Maybe you could just talk a little bit about how easy that is to do.
Yes, so all applications that you have developed in the Windows Designer should be able to just open up in the Web Designer, and you can start working on them in there. So you don't really need to do anything specific there. Just open up them in the Web Designer and start working on them. And just keep in mind what Paul said earlier. So when you have committed an application in the Web Designer, they won't open up in the old Windows Designer.
Very nice. Okay, we got a question on the IFS comparison tool, Wukash. So how will IFS comparison tool be made available to customers?
So this will not be a typical marketplace application that you download from the marketplace and install in your organization, because it requires access to our large database of knowledge that we use to compare all these API changes. So in that sense, we are going to distribute this application as one of the additional features in our Marketplace Hub. So Marketplace Hub, for those who don't know it, it's the portal where you get access to all our applications, where you can press the button, get an app, and enable it in your organization. There will be additional page there where you will be able to find additional tools like this one, and one of these will be a comparison tool. And then you will open it in the browser, and from that place you will be able to choose your versions and compare. But then from that place you will be able to access your organization, and from this organization select your individual application packages and then applications. So application will be hosted in our environment, but it will get access to your organization's applications.
Probably just a good follow-up to this one based on your answer, so we can keep on that same context, Wukash. Does that mean that the IFS comparison tool will have an additional cost even for the existing marketplace subscribers?
No, this will be distributed to the existing marketplace subscribers, but unfortunately not included in the free plan.
Thank you, Wukash.
That I just announced.
Yeah, another one probably comes to you is the PL SQL to flow script and OData. So says question mark performance, same. So I'm assuming they're asking like, what's the performance differences between going from something like a PL SQL script step to an OData step?
Look, those of you who know how complex it is know that it's hard to answer, right? There will be constructions that will be mapped one-to-one, and there is no way to improve it further, even if the very experienced consultant did the job. And we truly put a lot of emphasis on making the conversion, also focusing on the performance of the finally created script. As I showed it during the demo, it's not the only element, but we were the tool uses expand function to preserve the best possible performance. Now, there might be elements that were successfully converted from the syntax perspective. This will offer the same business logic, but it will require some further optimization for sure. Is it worth of using this tool to have semi-baked solution in that case and only optimize the performance, or is it better to do that fully manually from scratch? I still believe it's better to have it in place, done fully automatically by the tool, and then optimize only these steps that require real optimization. So there is no easy answer to that question, because there are very many different types of workflows, different use cases, and some of them might even require creating a custom projection that will cover specific, very complex joins that existed in the PL SQL, where you need to create a custom projection to cover that efficiently. We know that. Everyone knows.
I think it's good feedback. It's positives and negatives to both approaches, right? So realistically, okay. Next question to Ola would be, what size limit do we have for local storage?
Your device's memory or storage limit, actually. There is no built-in. So you need to make sure that when you're building the flow, that the devices you have for your organization have the storage capacity for it, which typically should be fine for very, very much text and likely some images and stuff as well. But we don't have any real way of capping that as of today. But also remember that it will be cleared as soon as you log off or and it won't be shared between users and things. So we'll hope that this will do for now.
Yeah, I think we've seen in certain cases, right? Like older devices have a lot less memory and therefore seem to struggle a bit more based on just how much space they have in them, or storage space, I shouldn't say memory. And then like newer devices, right, typically don't seem to struggle as much. So I think it's pretty device specific.
It is. And also, again, files take way more space, right, than only text. So that's another thing to consider.
Okay. Another one for the marketplace is lead capture application integrated with IFS CRM.
It is currently not, but it might come soon. I mean, we mainly focus on the most challenging element of lead capturing, which is you normally when you're at the event, you don't have much time to report all the discussions you have, right? So we made sure that we streamline this particular process to the maximal extent. You can even dictate to this tool, and the tool will determine particular portions of the information and put it into right properties like name, surname, address, job position. This can be retrieved from the dictated constant stream of words, right? And so, yeah, this covers this first step of registering leads. Now it currently exports the data to the Excel file, but you can easily use the data structure we have there to export it to any CRM, and we aim at connecting it with HubSpot right now. But maybe the next step will be to connect it also with the IFS CRM module.
Seems like a really good opportunity to maybe use the flow builder to actually build an API out to the IFS CRM, right? So if we give you that data in some data table, maybe you can iterate over it using the flow script builder to execute some script step against IFS Cloud.
Paul, it just came to my mind that we can maybe deliver it together with the prompt. So we deliver core application, and the prompt the customer would use to generate the rest of the application on themselves.
I think you've answered this, Łukasz, but it does say, where's the Novacura lead capture stored in IFS or some local database? It's just in the flow itself, right? Like it's just local.
No, we deliver this application together with the script that generates the SQL database. SQL database, yeah. It's a dedicated database.
Very nice. All right, Bruna, do we have a couple others?
Yeah, maybe something more about the AI Flow Builder. What limitations do we have today?
Yeah, I think both Alexandra and I could take this one. So there are some limitations in the Flow Builder. It is a first release of it. So as you can see, it's a little wonky in the way that the arrows play out today. So we want to try to make that a bit better. On top of that, it is a wireframe of the application. So that means that it doesn't configure individual steps yet. As an example, it won't configure a user step for you to have specific user elements. It won't configure an assertion step yet, but these are coming in the next releases. So it will build the wireframe of the app. And as we showcased, it will do the IFS functions to cloud. So you can build out flow script, but it's the embedded components within other steps that is going to be coming in the future. Really excited for the day that this thing will build full-blown applications. Alexandra, did I miss anything, or do you have any other comments?
I think that it is full coverage. Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Okay, one more. So how does the token consumption work for the AI features?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I don't know if you noticed this in the demo, but up to the top right side, there is a token, and those tokens are allocated per organization in Flow Connect. So we have the ability to consume tokens for specific functions. And based on the tier that you'll be bought into in your subscription, you will get a specific allocated amount of tokens for your org. Now, we do believe that some of the AI features in our platform aren't meant to consume tokens. So good examples of that is Andreas, he demoed today the ability to translate phrasebook applications. That likely won't be a feature in our future that consumes your token base per organization, whereas the Flow Builder will consume tokens. We plan to give better overviews of this in the next couple of releases where you'll be able to see how you're consuming tokens, what your tokens are being allocated to. But today, you'll be able to see how many tokens your org has, and when you run a flow, that number will obviously be consumed.
Should we explain what a token is, you think, Paul?
I hope everyone is up to speed on tokens, but yeah, a token is just a consumption unit that we utilize as a form of metric against things that process behind the scenes pretty much. For anyone who's familiar with any tool such as ChatGPT or another LLM model, right? Tokens are relatively similar across the board here.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. How can I get access to Marketplace to see the free applications?
So again, I would recommend, first of all, you can go to the marketplace novacura.com page and press the login button, and under this button you will see another page that will tell you how to get access. But specifically, the best and easiest way is to contact your account manager and ask for that. It's of course only applicable to those who currently don't have paid subscription, right? But we are now opening Marketplace for everyone. We are going to largely expand the library of available tutorials showing how to practically use advanced platform capabilities. And we are going to also include the tutorials we will be using in our trainings. So this will all be connected with trainings and documentation. And for that reason, we are opening Marketplace to everybody. So yeah, contact your account manager maybe and ask for the access.
So Bruna, I think that's all the time we have. We're running slightly over, but it's super helpful to get all those questions. If you do have more questions that we weren't able to answer today that come up, please feel free to send me an email. I'll do my best to get those out to the right team member, and we'll get you some responses. Really appreciate everyone for joining today. Thank you so much. We'll see you next quarter.